What's up, YouTube? It's me, TJ DeVries, and we've got Bash here today with us for another episode of Bash2Basics. We're trying out a new format today where we do a little bit more pre-recording. We're going to try and get straight to the content, get really deep and technical about the things you're interested in as you've been requesting. And today we're going to learn a little bit more about Rust. But before we do that, Bash, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey guys, I'm BashBunni. I am mainly a Go developer and a technical content creator. That's my focus. And I first heard about Rust through the memes on tech Twitter. So TJ is going to give me some reasons why I should use Rust instead of just via the memes.
So for today's video, we're primarily going to be working on how to get Rust set up inside of Neovim, some common workflows, and if you want to know more, things like an overview of the language or building your first project or things like that, let us know in the comments. Smash the like button. Give us those algo signals to know you want more of this kind of content. All right, so let's go ahead and get Rust set up for Neovim.
Yeah, TJ, I got to admit, I did not set up my Neovim config to do some Rust dev, so let's do it.
We'll start from scratch. Let's go. Bash to basics. The first thing that we need to do is to install Rust. Surprise! The main way that you can do that is through rustup.rs. On that site, there will be a script that you can run to install locally on your machine to get the primary features that you need to be able to run Rust. Those tools include Cargo and Rust C, which is what Cargo uses under the hood to compile and execute Rust.
Nice. I got Rust installed now. Full on Rustation. Let's go.
After installation, you should make sure that you followed the additional instructions to make sure that Cargo's environment is set up, which is usually printed out at the end of the script. Things like sourcing home.cargo.env. You might want to add that to your bashrc or zshrc, depending on what you use, to make sure that this gets sourced every time you run a new shell.
So TJ, all right, I installed Rust on my machine. I don't quite know how to install it like with my Neovim setup. So I'm currently using LSP installer, like the deprecated version of mason.neovim.
Nice.
To manage my LSP servers. So if I was more organized, I would have Mason actually properly set up. But it's my understanding that I'll probably need the Rust language server, Rust analyzer, and Starlark Rust maybe for a linter.
So actually all you're going to need is Rust analyzer. And that Rust analyzer actually ships with the LSP. So before we can do that, we probably should make a new project to host some new things for Rust. So I think
the
way that you make a new project in Rust is actually really nice and easy. You just type cargo and then new, and then the name of the project you'd like to do.
Yes.
Nice. That's an excellent project name. I like it.
Ooh. Wow,
so now
and it creates a Git repo and everything for you.
Yes, so it's all set to go, is all ready, and it already creates an example main RS file with the sort of skeleton of what you're going to need to open and run this file. So there's not a whole lot going on yet, but it has everything that you need to be able to do that. Nice. Excellent guess, Bash. We didn't even talk about that yet, but I guess you were ready to go with Cargo Run. I love it.
I was like, I'm pretty sure you can use Cargo for this.
Nice. And you actually don't have to run it from inside the source directory. In general, inside of Rust projects, we want to operate from the root of the project.
Oh, interesting.
So if you go here and you just type Cargo Run again, Cargo can still figure out what you want to do. It doesn't need to be right in that folder.
Awesome. So here it seems like I've got the little Rust logo down here, but I don't know if I have my LSP. There's nothing attached.
Right. So nothing's attached right now. So if you just started like typing, we're not going to get errors or anything like that. It's just going to look like nothing going on. And this is sort of like if you were just writing Rust, you would be feeling like this is a bad time because you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore. Definitely for Rust, one of the things that you'll want to do as you get more experienced with it is you learn that you really want to rely on the tooling inside of Rust because it's really made to be able to help you with these kinds of problems. So exactly like this, printf not found in scope. How do we get that error to show up in the editor? And that's what we'll do right now.
Perfect.
So the first thing that we need to do is we don't actually need to install this with some other tool. Rust actually can manage its LSP within itself, and that actually works quite nice because that's going to mean that the same version of Rust that you have is going to be using the same version of that LSP, which is good for things that might have, you know, sort of like breakages between Rust versions. So that can be nice for certain like weird macro edge cases that you definitely won't run into at start, but sometimes happen later.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I'm used to using my like LSP install to just like install the language server, but I think you mentioned that, yeah, like I don't need to do that and I can just tweak something maybe in my dot files.
Yeah, so we can just do that straight from using Rust up again. And maybe Bash, you want to remind people what actually is an LSP, right? Like what is it?
It's the language server protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically allows you to get that functionality where it is going to do some like suggestions for you, errors, things that are related to basically like the language syntax and things like that you'd expect from an editor. Your LSP is what's going to do that for you in something that's a little more granular like Neovim.
Yeah, and so the nice thing about it is it's just a separate executable, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like magically something that Neovim has to have a lot of information about.
Yeah.
So what we can actually do is we can actually tell RustUp, hey RustUp, we'd like to add a component. So we say component.
Oh, do I do RustUp or no?
Yep. Yeah, RustUp component. And then add.
Yeah.
And then Rust-Analyzer. And so this will tell RustUp, hey, I would like you to make sure that this version of Rust has Rust-Analyzer. So we'll say, I can do that. Downloads and installs.
Okay. So how do I, so now if I were to like go back, do I have to like quit Neovim and reopen it for the LSP to attach?
Well, so that's the first part, right? We've now installed Rust-Analyzer. It's available to be run on your system. But now we have to tell Neovim, I would like to use Rust-Analyzer. So now we go back to your LSP configuration.
Okay.
And this is where we're going to need to tell lspconfig.rustanalyzer, and we're going to call setup. Now, lspconfig already is aware of information about Rust-Analyzer, right? Like how to call it and different ways you can find it. You'll need an underscore actually for this one.
Okay. I think I should attach a Lua. Can I quickly attach a Lua language?
Yeah. So this is the other ways that you could do LSP install, and then for people on Mason, it will be Mason install, but it's basically the same idea. And then that installs some Neko. So that's great.
Ignore that I have outdated LSP servers.
Yep. It's also possible for us to do this with Rust-Analyzer, but I just wanted to show that it's not a requirement to use these other package managers to do this.
And then would I do something similar? So here I have like capabilities equal to capabilities, on attach is on attach, all of that. Like that seems like pretty generic.
Exactly right. So that just tells lspconfig, hey, when you attach to this LSP, I want you to run my onAttach function. And it also says, advertise to this LSP that I have these capabilities. But we don't need to pass settings or flags in this case.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we can just delete those if we're not going to set anything to them. They'll default to good values.
Okay, cool.
So now, ideally, when we open up, we'll have to restart your other Neovim and like open back up. But hopefully what happens once we open this again is that we'll start getting some errors.
Oh, goodness. Spawning language server with command Rust-Analyzer failed.
Yep. So this is fine. This just says lspconfig doesn't know how to find the particular Rust-Analyzer that we have. And this is actually pretty easy to solve as well. So we can go back to your config. So we can override what the default command is for Rust-Analyzer by typing, adding a new field here, command cmd, and then equals, and then we're going to make a list of here, and inside of here we're going to say RustUp as strings, and then stable. This tells RustUp which version of Rust you want to use. So when we installed, the default is stable, so we want to use that one. And then the last argument is Rust-Analyzer. So this just says, hey, RustUp, I installed Rust-Analyzer with you. Please now execute Rust-Analyzer for me.
Okay.
And so now, hopefully, when we go back to the... Yep, go ahead.
Can I stop you for a sec? So
of course.
So this command... So obviously, I have you like navigating me through this. But if I wanted to see like if I wanted to like use help or something like that to see what the configuration should be for Rust-Analyzer, like how would I do that?
Yeah, the main place you should go check for some of those things would be in lspconfig's repo. there's a great list of all the different configurations,
Oh,
and they
okay.
might even have that in the help docs as well. I don't remember offhand, but they'll
Okay.
tell you some of the information. And then the other thing is to sort of generally know that, like, if you look for Rust Analyzer on their website, they'll tell you how to execute Rust Analyzer if you've installed it in these things.
Okay, gotcha. So we'll link that in the description then as well,
Yep.
just for those who are interested. Because I think I get that question a lot, and there are definitely times where I struggle with that as well.
Yeah, I think the main thing is like a bunch of these sort of overall initial settings for lspconfig will really help you quite a bit to understand what's going on. And then this gives you an example of like, oh, I want to run a different command to execute this language server. This can be really useful to like decide lots of different things. Like if you're going to run a particular version of a language server for particular reasons, right? You might set up your thing to do that depending on what the circumstances are.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it looks like the help is like mostly it tells you like what the options are, but it doesn't give you like obviously examples for each of the language servers. So,
but that is in the server configurations documentation on the lspconfig repo. So you can go check that out for like particular sort of oddities about each lang, and they link to wherever the documentation is for those language servers as well. Okay, so now that we've told lspconfig, hey, here's how you actually run that executable, right? Because LSPs are just separate binaries. Now lspconfig says, oh, okay, cool. Now I know how to run it. So when we open up our source main file again, after Rust Analyzer has a short amount of time to start actually running, it's going to say, hey,
nice.
printf doesn't exist. And now, Bash, you're back to all of your normal ways that you're able to execute and do different things in Neovim.
Oh, yeah, that looks... Oh, there is no printf.
There is no printf. That's your Golang brain getting messing with you.
Now I can write Rust because it actually tells me what functions to use.
There you go. But you can actually use the printf style things that you want to do in print line. Maybe that's the very first thing that we can show. So if you type print line here instead of print, which is usually what we use, and then inside of this first string, you can... Oh, close. That's a good guess, but it's actually curly braces. It's more like Python F strings than printf exactly.
So it's like that?
So no, so just the curly braces, and then you could say like hello or something outside of the curly braces, right? So that there's like some string. This is like your format string. Yep. Okay. Nice. There you go. So now do a comma, and now exactly
whatever
right.
I want it to be.
So what's happening here is that print line is actually a macro. In Rust, anytime something ends with an exclamation point, that means that it's a macro. So it's going to do additional magic, sort of, that runs these things, and it'll make that work. So you can put as many arguments as you want in there. You can add additional specifiers. You can do all sorts of different things, and it will continue to keep working. And so that's just exactly what's going on there. And if you put too many things inside of here... Nice, I love it. If you put too many, it's going to say, yo, that doesn't work. You don't have enough things inside of here to fill, right? So you need to add another pair of curly braces.
And because it looks like because my LSP setup is pretty generic, like all my keybinds and everything like that, like as soon as that language server has attached to Neovim, like I can use all my keybinds that I'm used to, like the diagnostics list and stuff.
Exactly right.
So
That's one of the
into it.
That's one of the nice things about using Neovim for this after you get your LSP setup going is you want to add a new language to your repertoire, you want to explore, all you got to do is get the LSP going, and then it feels like exactly that same experience as you've had for other languages.
Awesome. That's great. All right, so I just added a new function called Truthy and a test to test our Truthy function. I also amended our print line to also call our Truthy function. But TJ, the problem is like as advanced of a Rust developer as this makes me, I actually don't know how to run the tests. So
well, of course, the main thing about it is not actually ever running your Rust code. It's about just like writing some so you can tell the people on Twitter about it. But since we're here already, like I may as well tell you how to run the tests. So if you had to guess, though, Bash, we actually haven't discussed this yet. What do you think the way that you could run a test would be?
Cargo test.
Yeah, well, let's just see. So sure enough, it finds and discovers those tests. And like all good TDD developers, right, we wrote the failing test case first so that we could show you that that test will fail. So if we unsuspend Neovim and go back and we change false to true and we run the tests again.
Oh, false to true. Yes.
Otherwise, yeah, probably we want truthy to return true.
Otherwise, it's fake news.
There's the other solution to failing tests, which is just make the tests pass.
my initial reaction is just, oh yeah, let's change the test. There's something wrong with it. We're failing.
I like that strategy too.
All right, cool. Test pass.
And you'll now see that they pass. But what I want to show you is just some of the ideas to get you started on really improving the iteration speed of how fast this can be run and how quickly the test can be run. So let's hop back into Neovim.
Okay.
Let's undo the last change just so that we can see it being failing again. Okay. And I tend to run these in Neovim, but you could use tmux or any of the other things that you wanted to do. So let's open up a terminal in a split here.
How do I actually do that? Do I do VSP terminal?
You can just do VSP and then do terminal.
Oh, right. Duh.
Yep.
Yeah. Because then I can just... Gotcha. Wow. Crazy.
And so now this is your terminal, just like normal, right? But we're going to add a new tool. So we're going to first do cargo install cargo-watch. There's many different packages in the sort of Rust ecosystem that improve your cargo experience, and a lot of them start with cargo to tell you. So this particular package basically watches all of the Rust files that are in your repository, and whenever you save one, it will run a command again for you. Type out cargo watch -x and then test. Yep, just like that. And so now you'll see that the test failed after we were running that. So now if we navigate back to where we were editing our code.
Oh, TJ, I actually don't know how to escape the terminal. This is a problem that I've had before.
Control/Control-N, but you can map that as well if you want.
Control-N?
Control/, sorry.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, wait. I did it wrong.
Both of them are control.
Oh,
yep, there
gotcha.
You go.
Okay. All right.
Nice. Okay. So, yep, after navigating back and now saving that file, you see immediately it runs again, and now you see that you get green.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so you can keep on doing this over and over, or you can save and it'll run again and fail. If you introduce some syntax error by trying to return something that doesn't make sense, like returning 5, then it will also tell you that it failed to compile, right? And so you can sort of just keep on working through what you're doing here, and it'll say, oh, you failed to do this,
really
blah.
Nice.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite ways to work through different problems in Rust. It's really iterative, it feels really fast and quick, and it's just recompiling what it needs to do and giving you that sort of like almost instant feedback about what you're working on. And then you just keep on going. Write a new test, do whatever you need to do, etc. And it'll just automatically discover, find those, and run them for you.
That's awesome. That's so nice. I love a language with good built-ins. That's what I love about Go, is like some of the built-in functionality, like their built-in test suite and stuff like that. So it's really cool seeing that Rust also has like some pretty amazing built-in stuff.
Yeah, definitely agreed.
So already just getting my Neovim set up and getting this basic main.rs function running, it's got me really excited about learning Rust and even how simple it actually is. I feel like I was very intimidated by the prospect of learning Rust, but it doesn't actually seem so bad, especially when you actually have an LSP that's working in Neovim and it tells you what to write. That's great. So TJ, I hope that we're going to be able to learn more Rust, i.e. you're going to teach me some Rust. But I think that we got to make the people work for it a little bit. So
can't get it for free.
No,
no free lunches.
They got to like the video. If we get 1,000 likes on this video, we will do a follow-up to this where TJ is going to teach me Rust as a complete noob. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on when that new episode launches. Yeah,
in that next video, what I really want to shoot for and aim for is basically the bare essentials of what you need to know to start writing Rust on your own. Obviously, we can't cover every language feature, but what I hope to do in approximately 15 minutes is give you the general overview of how do I start writing things and how do I start writing things to run into those problems of the advanced features of Rust that maybe you'll need to struggle with, maybe you'll need to learn some more things, or maybe we'll cover in subsequent follow-up videos, depending on how things are going, depending on what the algorithm is telling us to do. So that's sort of the plan. That's what we're looking forward to do. Let us know if you like this new style. Do you like seeing us do this a little bit more cut up, a little bit more edited? Do you miss the streams? let us know in the comments. We read them all. We like them all. You'll see a lot of hearts from me. I love to give hearts out. This has been Bash2Basics. I'm TJ.
I'm Bash.
And we're super happy to be here learning with you and just enjoying this time on the internet together. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.
Share with your Rust friends.